Hey everybody, Karen here, the Unpinned Creative at Unpinned Creative, doing another page in my Beatrix Potter Journal today. I'm working on this set of 4 pages. I have already stenciled the background of each page with a brick-like stencil and then added some collage and a lace pocket to the first 2 pages. And this is the page I'm going to be working on today, the one with the little piggy on it. And I'm going to take a library card envelope or a coin envelope, and I want to cut a hole in the front of it. So the first thing I'm going to do is open it up, just using my fingers and then a craft knife to gently separate the glue between the 2 pieces. So I'm opening it up along the bottom and then on the side as well, so that I have a flat piece I can put through my die cutting machine. And this is the die that I'm going to be using. It is a 2-piece die. So I am going to put the envelope through first with that die, and then I put the die through on a piece of scrapbook card and basically cut it out again so that I can have the centerpiece in a different color, basically. Now I need to put some acetate onto that window, so I'm using double-sided tape to stick around the very edges of that front piece of the envelope, making sure that it's lined up exactly with the creases. The most important part is this top piece where a card will be sliding in and out of the pocket, because I don't want that to get caught on anything. So that tape is lined up perfectly with the crease at the top of that envelope. And then I am using glue to go right around the outside of that window, very close to the edge, so that the acetate is stuck down nice and firmly around that window. Now I can put the acetate on. So I'm lining it up exactly with the creases on that envelope, making sure it's all pressed down nice and firmly. And then I am folding back the edges of the envelope to trim off the acetate. Now I'm going to make sure it all folds nicely again. And then I flipped the envelope over and I'm just drawing with a pencil a line below the original opening on the back of the envelope, because I'm going to be attaching this envelope to the top of the page, and when it's flipped up, I want to be able to get a card in and out of it. So making the back part of the envelope a bit lower will just make that a bit easier. So you can see now how that top part is lower, much lower than it was before. Now I can glue the envelope back together. Just putting some glue along the very outside edge of the pieces that are being glued together. And then along that bottom edge as well. And it is back to being an envelope. At this stage I realised that I should have inked the edge of that window before I put the acetate in, but it doesn't matter too much because the extra piece is going to cover the very edges of the acetate window, so it didn't matter if some ink got on the acetate. I'm using a stencil brush just to get right into the fiddly bits of that window piece with some ink, because I don't like white edges. And now I can put some glue all over it and glue it into place. Just like that. Then I went around the whole envelope and inked all of the edges on the back and the front, including the crease on both sides of the top flap. And this is how it's going to sit on the page. Now I'm taking a splotch stamp. It's kind of like a splatter stamp, but it's not really splatters, it's splotches. And covering the envelope in that, just to add some texture. And then for the front, I wanted to add a die cut as well. So I'm just figuring out which one I want to use. And I decided to go with this purpley coloured one. But I felt like it needed a little bit extra. So I found a couple more die cuts. I felt like it needed something a bit darker on the page. I thought this ivy might be quite cool, but it was really a bit overpowering. So I decided against that and found this smaller piece that worked better, I thought. So I'm going to go with that. And a little bit more inking around the edges of those purple leaves. And then I can start gluing. Black one first, and then the purple one on top. And I like how that's looking so far. I don't like to leave stems just hanging in midair, so I decided to add a little wooden flower shaped button to the bottom there, and just had a scrap of twine in my scrap box beside me and threaded that through, tied a couple of knots, and then glued that down at the bottom there over those stems. Now to try it on the page again. Because the page is quite busy, the background page, I think that that's enough, keeping the envelope fairly plain and simple, and decided to move on to the back. So I have this Beatrix Potter book that I have been using images and stuff out of, and I thought this title page was pretty perfect, and it actually was the best size. So I am just trimming it down with my tearing ruler, and it really was the perfect size. Couldn't have asked for better. Inked it up, and then brought in that splotchy stamp again, just to make it not so bare and white. And then it was ready to glue down on the page. So I'm just using glue stick because it's just paper on paper, but I am going to go around the edges with my white glue as well, just to make sure they are stuck down properly. And then for just a little bit more interest, I decided to add another die cut. This time I did use the ivy, but in a green colour. Trimmed it a bit shorter, inked it up, and then glued it down. Just like that. And that's it. I just wanted to keep it fairly simple because these pages are really busy. Now I'm adding my crackle stamp to the background of that page in a few places. And then I have this pre-made little tag pocket thingy. I made it out of some perfume sample packaging, and no, this was made out of a lip balm packaging maybe. Anyway, I am putting glue all over the back of it and gluing that down, just hanging the end of that tag over the page a little bit, as you can see there. Making sure that I haven't glued anything down I shouldn't have. And I can glue this pocket flip on now too. So I'm just covering the flap in glue and positioning it on the page. Making sure that is firmly pressed down. And that is it. The page is done. Thanks so much for joining me again today, and I'll see you in the next one.